Okay, so just now during the intermission, I went on my phone and I realized that if you were to Google for the antonym of happy, Google gives you sad. And in our black and white world, we're raised to think we live in a world of opposites, of good and bad, black and white. And happiness, well, happiness is always seen as the good. It seems as if we live in a world that's obsessed with the word happiness. There's so many talks on how to win in the chase for happiness, how to pursue happiness, and TED Talks are no exception. But some of you may have thought that I've come here to talk to you about just that today. Well, no. Today, I've come here to talk to you about the complete opposite of that. An incident in my life recently has led me to discover that the chase for happiness can actually do more harm than good. So I was 14 when my father passed away from cancer, and I promised myself that I would not be sad, that I would not cry or grieve. And I locked myself in the bedroom. I didn't go to school for a week, and I remained uncontactable from my friends. I fell into this spiral and this hole where I was just stuck, not wanting to turn on my phone, knowing that all I would see would just remind us of the death of the man who raised me and cared for me. I became this passive being, looking at my life from a distance, rather than from my perspective. It almost felt like I was watching my life unfold on a TV screen. Because I thought that the further I ran away from sadness, the closer I would be to happiness. In my pursuit for happiness, I saw emotions on a linear scale, as I have always been taught to see them, with one end being happiness and the other the opposite of that, sadness. Like the ends of a rubber band, opposite ends pulling me in different directions. And this time, the sadness side was stronger. So I told myself to run away, to run as far away from sadness as possible, so that I would be closer to happiness, and I would be free from my enemy, sadness, forever. And so, on the day of my father's funeral, something interesting happened. I didn't cry, and many people wondered why. Was she not close to her father? Did she hate him? Was she happy? No, I was none of those things. I was just numb. In my pursuit for happiness, I had run so far away from sadness that I'm pretty sure I passed happiness somewhere along the way, and I just stumbled into a state of numbness. During this period, I wondered whether what I was doing was right, because people would come up to me and ask me if I was fine, and I could say yes, because fine to me meant not feeling anything, and that's what I felt. As long as I wasn't sad, that meant that I was fine. And so with each passing day, this is what I told myself. But there was one night. There was one night where everything clicked for me. I was reading a book at the time that some of you may be familiar with. It's called Tuesdays with Maury. Yes, sir. And I stumbled upon this quote. Life is a series of pulls, back and forth, like two ends of a rubber band. And most of us live somewhere in the middle. So which side wins, I ask? Which side wins? Love. Love always wins. And I realized that in my rubber band, in my opposing sides of happiness and sadness, I had been abandoning those that I love. And most importantly, the one person that I loved that wasn't there, my father. To love is to be happy, but to love is also to feel pain. To love is also to grieve. And love doesn't lie on that linear line of emotions. In fact, I realized there wasn't a linear line at all. Why is it that humans can cry while laughing at the same time? And what is that feeling when you love someone so much that you end up flaring up at them for making the smallest mistake? When you feel two emotions at once, two emotions that are supposed to be on opposite ends of the spectrum. We don't feel on a linear scale, as I said before. If you were to Google for the antonym of happy, Google gives you sad, but that's not true. There isn't an opposite of anger or sadness or happiness. Emotions are a whirlwind that we drown and bask in. And if we were to run away from what we're feeling, we're not running towards another emotion. We're running away from life. And so, after the funeral, I allowed myself to feel. On the bus to the crematorium, where it was just me and the bus driver, I finally allowed myself to feel all of the sadness that was pent up in me for days. And the tears just couldn't stop falling. But for the first time, I felt a sense of relief. And it was at this moment where I thought about my father. And more specifically, I thought about his last words to me. Never stop learning. And these three words that may seem cliche, held a lot of meaning to me, because I realized there was no way that I could continue this last message that my father left with me, this last mission, this last motto that my father left with me, if I chose to spend the rest of my life avoiding pain, avoiding sadness. Because sometimes we can't always just pursue happiness. Because sometimes happiness isn't the most important thing in life. But I do believe in this. Life is about learning. And learning comes with hardships. But learning is what distinguishes us between living and existing. Because when I was in my bedroom, hiding from my emotions, running away from sadness, I wasn't living, because I wasn't learning. I was existing. Now, many of you may listen to this and think that, well, I didn't really go through the same hardship that she did. And yes, not many of us here have gone through the same hardship that I did, but many, many of you sitting here right now face tiny little battles every single day. And I want you to think about a tiny battle that you're facing in your life right now. And just take a moment to reflect on that. So when I faced my hardship, I made a promise to myself that I hope you will make to yourself as well. To look at this hardship and not run away from it to pursue temporary bliss, but to look at this hardship in the face and say that I will learn from you. To acknowledge your emotions of sadness and frustration and anger, and see them as your teachers, not your enemies. Now, after this incident happened, and after listening to my little philosophy, many people told me that my father's passing happened for a reason. You know how people say, everything happens for a reason, right? Well, would it surprise you if I were to tell you that I don't believe in this? Because I don't. Now, it might seem a little contradictory, but let me explain. I don't believe that my father's passing happened for a reason. I don't believe everything happens for a reason, because we are not born passive beings, waiting for life to teach us things and take shape for us. But instead, I believe in this, that in every hardship of your life, it is you who chooses to learn something from it. Hardships don't come with a lesson, but you can choose to learn from them. And when you start to realize that it's not the universe who's the teacher, but it's you who is the learner, when you start to realize that it's not the universe who's in control of your hardships, but it's you, when you start to acknowledge your negative emotions rather than running away from them, when you are no longer afraid, is when you truly start to live. Thank you.